Welcome back to Headlines. Today we're going to be talking about a bill that was introduced to end the counting of illegal immigrants for the Electoral College. And I know what you're thinking. What do you mean? You mean they're counted towards the Electoral College? Yeah, they are. I know you're going to be super happy to realize that. But the number of illegal immigrants in a state helps determine how many representatives the state gets, which also means how many votes they get in the Electoral College. So we did have a group of senators, Republican senators led by Bill Haggerty, introducing a bill that would ensure that illegal immigrants are not included in the population count for the Electoral College or congressional districts. The bill, titled that the Equal Representation Act, would require the Census Bureau to ask a citizenship question so that Electoral College votes would only be apportioned based on U.S. citizens living in the state. Now that seems like a very good idea to me. Actually, now President Trump did try to do this for the 2020 census, but he was blocked because of a bunch of lawsuits by super woke leftists. Basically, I'd like to summarize and just get right to the gist of it. So in 2019, the Supreme Court blocked Trump's efforts to add a citizenship question to the census in a 5-4 decision after groups claimed that the question was discriminatory. So that is what happened when former President Trump, tried to add that to the census. You know, a lot of the people who are here illegally are going to California, New York, and I mean, California, they've got what, like Hollywood, Disney, to try to get that. And even though those have really lost a lot of their luster, they're now offering free gender changes, right? So you can, if you're a man and you want to be a woman, you can go there and things are cut off, or the other way. So that's a bonus if you want to go there. Anyway, so we do have that Supreme Court decision in 2019, and I did find another case that was actually cited in a Wall Street Journal article that I feel like would give us some help to say, hey, we think that this practice of counting illegal immigrants in the apportionment should be stopped. And I think we have some decent background material for that. Let me pull up this other article. This is actually from a Wall Street Journal article. I think it was back in 2010, but the case that it talks about, I think it makes a lot of sense. So let me pull that up. So here's this older Wall Street Journal article that talked about this. This is from August 2009. So that was somebody who was ticked off back in 2009 about the 2010 census because they're going to count people who are here illegally. Here's some background on the census, if you go way back, that I think helps provide support for why only legal citizens should be counted for this. And I'm just going to read this from the Wall Street Journal article. In 1790, the first Census Act provided that the enumeration of that year would count inhabitants and distinguish various subgroups by age, sex status, as free persons, etc. Inhabitant was a term with a well-defined meaning that encompassed, as the Oxford English Dictionary expressed it, one who is a bona fide member of a state, subject to all the requisitions of its laws, and entitled to all the privileges which they confer. Thus, earlier census questionnaires generally asked a question that got at the issue of citizenship or permanent resident status. What state or foreign country were you born in? Or whether an individual who said he was foreign-born was naturalized. Over the years, however, Congress and the Census Bureau have added inquiries that have little or nothing to do with census's constitutional purpose. So if you go back to when this thing first started, you can see that they were in effect counting just those people who were basically citizens, or quasi-citizens, how they described it here. But it wasn't, I think clearly they weren't going to be counting hordes of illegal immigrants like we do now. Now, they did cite this case from the Supreme Court in 1964, which I wanted to talk about just briefly because of that 2019 case from the Supreme Court when Trump tried to add it to the questionnaire. So in the 1964 case of Westbury versus Sanders, the Supreme Court said the House of Representatives, the Constitutional Convention agreed, was to represent the people as individuals and on a basis of complete equality for each voter. It ruled that Georgia had violated the equal vote principle because House districts within the state did not contain roughly the same number of voting citizens. Justice Hugo Black wrote in his majority opinion that One man's vote in a congressional election is to be worth as much as another's. The same principle is being violated now on a national basis because of our faulty census. The Census Bureau can, of course, collect whatever data Congress authorizes, but Congress must not permit the Bureau to unconstitutionally redefine who are we, the people of the United States. Which I think makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Now, whether we can actually get this changed or not, okay, well, clearly we're not going to now because the Democrats control the Senate and they're going to keep it the way it is. But hopefully we can get it fixed or at least fix the border. I think one of the two things needs to be fixed. But just for fun, let's do some math. Not really complicated math. We're not going to do geometry or linear algebra, calculus, or anything like that. But let's just see how many basically congressional seats are here because of people who are here illegally. Okay, so we're going to look at some numbers. Now, the seats in the House of Representatives are apportioned in a much more complicated way. I started reading about I think it's called the equal apportionment method or something that was determined back in the 40s, and I just got bored. Hopefully you're not getting bored. So we're going to simplify it and just do a very easy, quick determination. And I know it's not exact, so but hopefully this will at least give us a rough estimate. But looking in this, if we look at like basically how many people, the average constituents per member in the House of Representatives, if we look at it that way, in 2023, 761,000 people per seat in the House of Representatives in the United States. Okay, are you with me so far, or did I gloss over too much stuff? So if we look at our U.S. House of Representatives right now, roughly speaking, we can say like each representative represents about 761,000 people. Now, I know that's not exact because it kind of changes from state to state because of that complicated method, but for our purposes, let's just use that number. So the next step is how many people are here in the United States illegally. So I'm going to pull up this article from Fox because I had a really hard time finding anybody else who was actually going to tell the truth about it. Yeah. Anyway, so this was actually published in June of 2023. So they think that nearly 17 million illegal immigrants are living in the United States. 17 million. Okay, so if we look at 17 million, and let's just say, okay, how many congressional seats are 17 million people worth? I'm going to have to pull up a calculator right now, and I hope that I don't lose stuff. All right, so I just realized that my iPad does not have a calculator on it. Is that weird? It should, shouldn't it? Anyway, so luckily I have my phone. All right, so we have 17 million people who are here illegally. And if it takes about 760,000 people to give a state one congressional seat, let's just see what this comes out to. So we're going to take 17 million. We're going to divide that by 760,000. That's 22.3. So like 22 seats in the House of Representatives are being given to states from people who are here illegally. All right, if I did my math right. That's a lot. That's a big number. I mean, how many things in Congress right now have been passing or not passing with fewer than that as a margin, fewer votes than that than a margin? A bunch, right? Okay, so let's, and I think right now, let's just look at how many congressional seats have walked across the border in the last few years. So I think based on what I've read, they're estimating that maybe in what was it, 2021, was that around, I think I've seen numbers like 10 or 11 million. And I've heard people throw around like 6 or 7 million people have come in since Biden's been in office because basically he's wanting to just not have a border, apparently. So let's just say 6 million. So if we say 6 million people have come here illegally thanks to President Biden. So let's say 6 million divided by 760,000. That's 7.9. So basically 8. So that's like President Biden has brought in 8 congressional seats across the border and gifted them to some states somewhere. And I'm guessing they're blue states, right? Because if you see the people who seem to just love people walking across the border, it's always blue states and Democrats. And again, I know it wasn't exact, but hopefully at least it was a fun exercise, right? Anyway, and I hope that didn't upset you too much. Thank you for watching. My name's Wes Austin, and we'll see you next time.